The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in the market for a brand new or slightly used automobile, check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. They got a great sales department, service department, and finance department. Add it all up, and, well, it's real simple. Before you make the commitment to purchase a car, you need to check out the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're with you till 3 o'clock, at which time DJ and the boys will take you through the 3 o'clock hour with Power Hour. All right, last night, a monumental number was achieved by Ken Grisdale. In his 28th season as the head basketball coach of the Poland Bulldogs boys basketball program, Ken Grisdale became the 47th coach in the 99-year history of boys basketball in the great state of Ohio to earn victory number 500. The Bulldogs knocked off Jefferson last night, 64-45. Now, think about this for a second. Ken Grisdale came onto the scene in about the 93-94 season, somewhere in that regards. I believe it was 93-94. Back then, you had 20-game season. The 22-game season was not in play until, I believe, year 8 or year 9 of Grisdale's coaching career. Be that as it may. He is in his 28th year. He's not completed his 28th year. He is in his 28th year, and he picks up his 500th victory. If you do some math, and Ken Grisdale does not win another game the rest of the year, which, by the way, that won't happen. If you divide 28 basketball seasons into 500 victories, you are looking at an average of 17.86 wins per year over 28 years. That is unbelievable. That's incredible. Now, obviously, you're adding tournaments. Okay, wonderful. If, let's say, they're averaging 3.5 wins a tournament per year, which basically gets you into either the district championship game or it's district championship game either way. If you're one of the 4 seeds, 3 wins get you into a district championship game. You lose in the district title game because you get the sectionals final, district semifinal, and the district championship game. There's three games. If you're not in the top 4 seed, you would lose in the district semifinals. So let's assume for a second we're looking at 3.5, 4 games, 4 total tournament games. You're still looking at an average of 13, 14 wins in the regular season per year. That's pretty impressive. That's real impressive. When you consider the fact that every program is going to have some lean years, and you still put up 17.86 wins per year over 28 years. And again, we're not even finished with the 28th season, which will be Ken Grisdale's last season. I guess that was the even bigger story, is the fact that Ken Grisdale just essentially, well, he didn't essentially say it, he freaking did say it after the game. This is it. I'm done after this year. I'm going to watch Jackie, his daughter, play in college. I don't blame him. I mean, you know, his daughter's going to graduate. His daughter will play college basketball somewhere. Obviously, you want to be able to see your daughter play, and that's a little bit more important. No problems. But we're looking, even with him never winning another game the rest of the year, which is not going to happen. He's probably going to win, I would say, at least 6 more games before the end of the year. You're looking at 17.86 wins a year over 28 seasons. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Those are some great, great numbers. And we talk so often about in the great years of basketball in the Mahoning Valley, and I was old enough to remember the Alan Burns era in Boardman, the Frank Sigletti era at Rayen High School, a number of other really, really good coaches, great coaches. Bobby LaRicca at Warren Western Reserve, Rick Brook over in Sebring. Ken Grisdale is right up there. Ken Grisdale, if there is a Mount Rushmore of boys basketball coaches in the Mahoning Valley, there has to be room for Ken Grisdale. There just has to be. There has to be room for Ken Grisdale if we're looking at a Mount Rushmore of boys basketball coaches in the Mahoning Valley. He's the 47th coach in the 99-year history of high school basketball in the state of Ohio to win 500 games. And I would dare say that he is probably the third in the Mahoning Valley. I don't believe Sigletti won 500 games. I know Rick Brook did. I'm pretty sure Alan Burns did. I know Rick Brook did. So I know 2 of those 47 coaches are from the area. I'm almost certain Alan Burns won 500 games. I'd have to take a look, but there is no 2 ways about this. If you're putting a Mount Rushmore of boys high school basketball coaches from the Mahoning Valley, Ken Grisdale is on that list. He has done an unbelievable job. And when he leaves at the end of this season, those are some huge, huge shoes to fill. No 2 ways about it. This is huge shoes to fill. Again, if he doesn't win another game, he averaged 17.86 wins a year over 28 years. That is unbelievably impressive. Very, very impressive. Congratulations to Ken Grisdale. And to let everyone know just how long he's been coaching, I was still in my 20s in his first year at Poland, and my first year of doing high school sports. So it's been a while. It's definitely been a while, but congratulations to Ken Grisdale getting victory number 500 last night. That's fantastic. Great, great number for a great basketball coach. And hopefully this last year in Poland, the Bulldogs will have a lengthy tournament run ahead of them. All right, also congratulations to McDonald's Jake Porterlees. Got his 1,000th career points back on January the 16th when McDonald played Jackson Milton. It's just a fantastic job by Porterlees. There's not a lot of kids that have scored 1,000 or more points in McDonald. Obviously Zach Brazil, that record's not about to be broken anytime soon. I believe he went to 3,000. That record's not going to be broken anytime soon, if at all. But anytime someone gets you to 1,000 career points, even in today's game where you're 22 games a year, and assuming you're playing as a freshman, 22 games a year, that's 88 games over the course of a career. If you've started every single game since your freshman year, you'd still have to average 11.36 points per game over those 4 years to get to 1,000 points. It's pretty interesting and pretty solid honor. And again, 2 extra games since, I don't know, the turn of the century or somewhere around there. But still, that's a really, really good honor. And anytime someone puts 1,000 points on the board for the career, yeah, that's a solid honor. More importantly, Jackson Milton a victory over. McDonald a win over Jackson Milton. McDonald now 13-0 on the campaign, 7-0 in the Scarlet tier, and man, they're going to be a lot of fun to watch in the D4 playoffs. Make no mistake about it. They will be a lot of fun to watch. One game that I'm sure that Liberty would just as soon forget, and let me just say this, as a guy that has done some coaching, this is reason number one why a team with a large lead in the fourth quarter, regardless of the sport, whether it's football, basketball, a large lead and late in a baseball game, you don't take your starters out of a game until the coach on the other end throws the white flag up. Last night, Liberty had a 25-point lead midway through the fourth quarter. And Liberty took their starters out of the ball game. Now, 25-point lead, 4 minutes to go in the game. You'd figure it's safe. 4 or 5 minutes to go in the game. You kind of believe that this is going to be safe. You know, that's a large lead. 25-point lead midway through the fourth quarter. That's a pretty large lead. But Newton Falls didn't put their reserves in. Liberty, with the large lead, decided to substitute. And they brought in their 5 reserves. Newton Falls, with their starters, jumped right back into the game. They wound up cutting the deficit down to 8. And then Liberty put their starters back in the ballgame. And as it turns out, even when Liberty put their starters back in the ballgame, Newton Falls, they were still trucking. Newton Falls gets a double overtime victory over Liberty, 70-65. And again, this is hopefully this is a lesson that Coach Lamb learns, and every coach should probably take note of last night's loss by Liberty. If you have a huge lead, it's not on you to take your starters out of the game. You don't take your starters out of the game until the other coach decides to wave the white flag. Then and only then are you taking your starters out of the game. And this is a painful lesson, but wow. What a great comeback for Newton Falls. And Newton Falls down 25 in the fourth quarter. They get to overtime. They go to double overtime. Newton Falls gets a victory over Liberty, 70-65. And here's another thing that we talk about free throws being so vitally important, especially down the stretch. If you get a 1-and-1, or more importantly, if the team on the losing end of the stick is starting to foul you and you're in the double bonus and you have 2 shots, you got to hit your free throws. You just got to hit your free throws. And unfortunately, teams that don't hit their free throws, that comes back to haunt you in a pretty big way. I mean, we're going to talk to Rob Schmidt in the 2 o'clock hour. First game against UIC on Friday afternoon last week. Youngstown State had that game well in control. And then Youngstown State wasn't hitting their free throws down the stretch, and UIC started chipping away at that lead of Youngstown State's, and they kept missing their free throws, 1 and 1, and missing the double bonus. Well, they just kept chipping away, and all of a sudden, UIC's down by 1. Youngstown State has an opportunity to make it a 3-point game. They blow both their free throws. UIC gets the rebound, and a buzzer beater beats Youngstown State. And Youngstown State should have won the game, and had they hit their free throws down the stretch, they would have won the game. And there's so many things that that you got to do right down the stretch in order to get victories. And boy, a really, really ugly lesson learned last night. And I'll guarantee you, Liberty doesn't take their starters out in another game until the opposing coach waves the white flag. That's a tough lesson to learn, but kudos to Newton Falls. They never gave up, and that's the other part of it. You know, you're down 25 midway through the fourth quarter. A lot of teams would have sat back and said, yeah, all right, let's just play this out and live to fight another day. Well, Newton Falls was scrappy. They jumped back into this game. Now, albeit Liberty took their starters out, put the second team in. Newton Falls goes on this unbelievable run. They're now down 8. Liberty's got to put the starters back in. Well, the momentum is now to the such where you got this little snowball that turns into a full-blown avalanche. When a full-blown avalanche happens, it's tough to stop the momentum, and that was just a gut-wrenching loss for Liberty last night. But such a great win for Newton Falls. And Newton Falls is having a really good year. They're going to be a lot of fun to cover in the D3 tournament. And we talk about D2 and D4. Man, I'll tell you what, this D3 tournament is going to be a lot of fun. Now, we're all assuming that the two districts that are going to mash into one supersized district will be the Salem district and the Warren-Harding district. The Warren-Harding district is where Newton Falls and LeBray and I believe Brookfield is Division III. Those three teams, amongst the Trumbull County teams, are going to be a part of the Newton Falls district, and the Salem district are the teams in Columbiana County, Mahoning County, and southern Trumbull County. I believe southern Trumbull County. But those two districts, there's a very good chance those two districts are going to combine into one big one. I'm going to tell you what, D3 is going to be just as much fun to watch as D2 and D4. And D1, and albeit we only have 3 teams, boys basketball in D1, Fitch, Boardman, and Harding. I do think Harding is going to be heard from before it's all said and done. They're still playing a small amount of games, but you know they've been hurt, much like Trumbull County and the rest of the teams that have been down because of COVID. I think Harding will be tournament ready by the time we get the tournaments going. I think D1 will be fun, but we got way more teams in D2, D3, and D4. So much better of an opportunity for more advancement in D2, D3, and D4. I'm just going to tell you right now, D3 is going to be a lot of fun, all kinds of fun to watch, just as much fun as Division 4 and Division 2. So we'll certainly talk some high school basketball during the course of today's show. Just wanted to throw out congratulations to Coach Grisdale getting victory number 500. He announced, along with the 500th victory, he announced that this was his last year of coaching. He's going to watch his daughter Jackie play college basketball, and you absolutely there's no there is no disagreement on that. The family will always come first, and look, there isn't much that Coach Grisdale needs to do. 500 wins, and again, over 28 years, you're talking about 17.86 wins per year over 28 years. That's ridiculous. That's an incredible, very impressive, very, very impressive. And what Poland has done to build a program, and Ken Grisdale has been there to build this program. Just an incredible honor for Ken Grisdale last night. Though we can certainly talk some high school basketball if you wish. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we will hear from Jordan Taylor. Jordan Taylor is the general manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. The Scrappers are going to get busy. Now, obviously, the New York Penn League is all gone. But that doesn't mean the Scrappers are out of business. No, no, no. The Major League Baseball Draft League is going to be coming to the Mahoning Valley. This is the new league that the Scrappers are involved in. The New York Penn League is a thing of the past. There are some teams from the New York Penn League that are going to be involved in this. Williamsport, the West Virginia Black Bears, the State College Spikes. They, along with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, the Frederick Keys, an A-ball team formerly of the Baltimore Orioles affiliation, and the former Yankees AA farm team in Trenton, New Jersey, the Trenton Thunder. These are the 6 teams that will be playing in the Major League Baseball Draft League. It is coming up in June. We haven't spoken to Jordan Taylor since the original announcement. We'll get a little bit more in-depth detail on how this league is going to work. It's going to be sponsored and powered by Prep Baseball. And we'll get into the nuts and bolts of this league, how it's going to work with Jordan Taylor and how they transition from an Indians affiliate to a team that is essentially going to be housing kids that are looking to improve their draft stock. And you're not necessarily looking at a player who plays in a certain minor league system. The beautiful part of where the Scrappers are now is you could be seeing a ton of kids who make a really big impact on Major League Baseball. So we'll talk with Jordan Taylor about that coming up at 12:30. And I think that this, if Major League Baseball does this right, if they market it right, and marketing in Major League Baseball should never be uttered in the same sentence because they don't do a very good job of this. But if they can do a good job of marketing this, I think this is a great idea. They just need to market this and make sure that they're going about this in the right way. This has potential of being a really, really impressive league. We'll catch up with Jordan Taylor in about 8 minutes. Rob Schmidt will be calling in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, and we'll talk with Rob about the weekend that was last weekend with YSU splitting against UIC. Now, the Penguins, they have 8 games left in their season. In the regular season. They may be able to get a non-conference opponent before the end of the 2020-2021 college basketball campaign. We don't know. They're still working on it. We'll see. But right now, 8 games left, and 6 of those 8 games are going to be played at Beagley Center. And, it's time for the Penguins to now start getting into tournament mode. And that means let's get hot here. 6 of the 8 games left at Beagley. Let's say the Penguins go 6-2, 7-1 over their final 8 games. Now you're playing some great baseball going into the tournament. A tournament, keep in mind, where there really isn't a cut and dried number 1 team. Cleveland State still leads the league, but a lot of people believe Cleveland State is not the best team in the conference, even though they're leading the conference. A lot of folks believe Wright State is that team. So we'll see what happens there. We'll catch up with Rob Schmidt and talk a little bit about that. The Camel Red Devils, girls basketball program, they suspended their season yesterday, and it had nothing to do with COVID. It was more about they didn't have a lot of players left. I've seen and broadcast 4 of Camel's games this year. Camel finished the season 2-9. In the 4 games Larry Scragg and I broadcast, and I believe we saw them against Lowellville, Heartland Christian, and Crestview 2 times. 3 of the 4 games, the Camel girls scored 20 points. The last game that we broadcast was Monday night against Crestview. Camel was struggling. They scored but 13 points. They were beaten by Crestview 72-13. I believe Coach Scott was the right person for the job, and I still believe Coach Scott is the right person for the job, and I believe that if given an opportunity, he will turn that basketball program around. The problem in Camel was the fact that kids weren't going to practice, and ultimately, you don't go to practice, well, you're not going to play. I mean, you can't play a player that doesn't go to a lot of practices. You miss some practice, you're obviously going to miss the game. And the low numbers, I don't know the complete story. What I do know is Coach Scott is really good at what he does. And the improvement that I saw the Camel girls make up until Monday night, the improvement that I saw the Camel girls make from the first game we saw against Lowellville to the third game we saw, the first meeting against Crestview, I thought there was substantial improvement. And I think that Coach Scott will do a really good job. Unfortunately, the kids have to buy into the program. Otherwise, you don't have a program. And it's sad that the school it didn't have enough people interested in basketball and committed to playing basketball. I don't believe this is not reflective of Coach Scott, and I don't believe this is reflective of the way their basketball program is. I hope that their junior high program, when they get into high school, they're going to be very interested in playing the game of basketball. And more importantly, I hope that when Camel gets the kids back interested in the game, Coach Scott is going to be there, because I really liked what Coach Scott was doing. Very patient. Obviously I didn't see any practices, but what I saw with his demeanor on the basketball floor during the 4 games that I broadcast, very patient. No outbursts, no ugly outbursts of any kind. I think that Coach Scott did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough commitment from the girls that were interested in playing high school basketball at Camel. Hopefully that changes. It's tough. It's tough to build a program. It's not impossible, but it is tough to build a program. I just feel bad for Coach Scott, and I feel bad for the kids that were really giving a great effort on Monday night. Unfortunately for them, they were outmatched. There's no two ways about it. Crestview was the much better basketball team on the basketball floor on Monday night, but there's plenty of kids on that team that gave 100%, and I feel bad for them that they're no longer allowed to play, or they're no longer going to play basketball the rest of the year, that they've suspended their the basketball season. I agree with the decision, but it's still painful for the kids that were playing, especially the kids that were playing all out on Monday against Crestview. All right, we'll take a timeout. Jordan Taylor, the general manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, is coming up next. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk Major League Baseball Draft League. We got the 6 teams. Now let's start talking nuts and bolts on how this is going to work. I think we got some answers with Jordan Taylor coming up in a bit. Stick around.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to a Tuesday edition, not Tuesday, good God, Ron, a Wednesday edition, holy smokes. Did I just invent a time machine? Good Lord. Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. I suppose we should probably do take two, but no, we're not going to do that. Hey, coming up in June, the Mahoning Valley Scrappers are back playing baseball. Now, it's not as an Indians affiliate, but it is as an affiliate of something that I think has the makings to be something even better, and that is the affiliate of the brand new Major League Baseball Draft League. The Scrappers, along with 5 other teams, will encompass this first-year league. And to talk a little bit more about the Major League Baseball Draft League, we bring in the general manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, Jordan Taylor. Jordan, what's up, brother?
Hi, thanks for having me on. It's been a... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, this has been a really weird, last 15, 16 months for the Scrappers and for minor league baseball in general. You don't have a minor league baseball season in 2020 thanks to COVID. And then Major League Baseball comes down with, we want to change how minor league baseball operates. And then you cut out 42 teams, with the Scrappers being one of them. And when it looked like we weren't even going to have any professional baseball at all, Major League Baseball approaches the Scrappers and 5 other organizations to be a part of a Major League Baseball Draft League. So whirlwind is probably an accurate way of describing the last 16 months in Niles.
Yeah, to say the least. It has been a crazy year plus. So it's a lot of highs and lows, and uncertainty. Even dating back to last year, we didn't get cancellation of the minor league season as a whole until relatively late. So we were still making plans, contingency plans on if we played, if we were going to play starting later, et cetera, and then kind of knowing when that was canceled, shifting into amateur game tournament operators and smaller events at the ballpark, and then still throughout that whole process trying to work on making sure baseball stayed in the Mahoning Valley, and then really just not knowing how that was going to go. And then a handful of months ago being approached by Major League Baseball and presented a really cool concept to us that we really wanted to jump on board. And as you mentioned, we think as this league develops, it really potentially is going to offer a greater overall brand of baseball than we had in our previous model.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about that. But before we do you get a sense of regret that the organization wasn't able to have a proper farewell to its fan base, being an Indians affiliate?
Yeah, 100%. It was the worst possible scenario last year with the uncertainty on the future, then with COVID hitting, and then on top of that, not being able to run through, our final year, which, I think, we're on tap to have just a tremendous season based off of the, support we received with the community and ticket sales and everybody really jumping on to support the team, in their quest to keep baseball around. So that was terribly disappointing. And, the only bright side now is we're back at it and starting to reboot everything and, looking forward to what's ahead.
Jordan Taylor, he's the general manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. The Scrappers are one of 6 teams in the brand new Major League Baseball Draft League. We alluded to the fact that there is the potential of better talent or some of the best talent that the organization has seen ever. And we go back to the New York Penn League affiliation of 1999. Well, if everything goes according to plan, this draft league is going to have a lot of kids that are expected to be drafted, albeit could be anywhere from the 1st to the 20th round in the now 20-round MLB draft. But we expect a high majority of these kids to be drafted, and the league itself is in position where the whole crux of it is this is an opportunity for kids that might be able to improve their draft stock as you play out a season of really, really good talent.
Right. It's really unique, really first of its kind model, and it really falls in line with, as you mentioned, your lead-in, Major League Baseball reimagining the minor league system, and this is their solution to short season baseball in a model that they feel is more beneficial in terms of player development and the scouting side of things. So as you mentioned, we'll get players, from all over the country. The goal with this league is really to get them acclimated to what it's like to play professional baseball. So the 6 teams tied in here all play in really good ballparks and communities that have had, strong fan support over the years. So they're going to come into good communities, play in front of a lot of fans, get to experience the road trips, what it's like to be on the road, on the minor league grind, working out during the day, then playing your games and really strictly focused on baseball. And then in addition to that, there's going to be a lot of educational component into this league. So they're going to bring in a lot of former major leaguers to talk to these players, really teach them what it's like to be a professional player on the field, but also off the field, and really getting them geared up for when they're drafted and then eventually make their way to their major league affiliate.
Here's an interesting concept. These kids are still going to be amateurs. So the money aspect is going to be very little, if any. But the beautiful thing about minor league baseball, and kudos to the organization when you were an Indians affiliate, and I got to believe this is not going to change at all. The Scrappers had a family, a group of families that were more than willing to give the kids who were playing in the New York Penn League an opportunity to live in their homes. As you are going back to your fan base with this new concept, first and foremost, is this idea starting to percolate and starting to become really, really good league or region-wide with the fans? And are the families that you have had in the past, are they going to be more than willing to house these kids as we have essentially a full season of minor league baseball?
Yeah, our goal is to continue with that host family program, and really in our old model, it was one thing Cleveland was really happy with, because there's some communities that don't have the host family program, and they really wanted to have it in Mahoning Valley just because it gives the players a little more sense of home, and it's just quite honestly, it's a challenge with the length of our season finding housing for these players who also are potentially only staying with us a week or two at a time. So the host family program was really beneficial. So we've started those outreaches, and people seem to be receptive to having players join them over the summer.
I got to imagine nothing's going to change off the field. The in-between innings promotions are going to be the same. The promotions itself are going to be the same. I honestly believe, and I'm bringing out my inner minor league baseball experience, your Jersey nights are going to be off the chain because of the fact that you have, at least we're envisioning, a lot of kids that are potentially high draft picks that are going to be members of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Your Jersey nights are going to be off the chain. I mean, you're going to get, if you have, Jersey auctions, I'm going to love whoever the beneficiary is of your Jersey auction, because they're going to get a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, we think the same thing. I mean, you're going to be dealing with, a roster that'll have, the way it's set up is, all of these kids should be draftable prospects in that 20-round model, reduced model that you mentioned. So chances are you're going to have a shot to latch on to some big leaguers a little bit more than you would in our old model where, quite honestly, if you look through our teams, and I think Cleveland did a great job developing players, we would be fortunate to get 5 big leaguers out of any 1 year's roster, at some point in time. So you could identify a handful of top-end prospects, but then there are a lot of guys who were, fill-in players and just to have the roster be set up that were in our team, and also throughout the New York Penn League. But in this model, we should have a lot more prospects littered through the roster.
Are you concerned with the fact that you're no longer an affiliate with the Cleveland Indians? And let's be honest, some of the folks that watch minor league baseball, a lot of them watch minor league baseball because, well, this is my favorite team. Well, this is my favorite team's affiliation in this league. And naturally, in 4 or 5 years, if these guys are really, really good, I expect to see them in an Indians uniform. That's part of the beautiful thing about watching minor league baseball. Are you concerned that there's going to be some fans that are going to sit back and say, okay, the talent is better, there's no two ways about this, but we're not sure if this kid's going to be an Indian, so I don't know if I want to see this?
Sure. So, I mean, there, as you mentioned, I mean, there is a set of our fan base who is very, cued into the, Cleveland Indians prospect pipeline, with us being so close to Cleveland. I'd still say, there's going to be a chance we'll have, odds are every year drafted Cleveland players, but also throughout the league, you're going to see drafted Cleveland players. So you'll still be able to come out to a game and catch those top prospects that Cleveland, is eyeing up or potentially drafted that are hanging out, through the balance of their season. They just may not be in Mahoning Valley. They may be on, State College, and every year with that will be, a little bit different. But what we've also found over the last, I'd say, maybe the last 5 years or so in particular, people and fans, there's a bigger set of prospect fans. So they're also queuing up for when, we have a big prospect for a first-round pick or somebody who's coming in from another team, that we'll see a little bit of spike in ticket sales, requests for interviews, autographs, things like that. So I think there's a group who's going to want to just see all of the talent that comes in, even if they're not specifically, all potential Cleveland Indians major leaguers. But that's something that I think will evolve over time as far as that goes.
There's obviously a trade-off here. I mean,
yeah.
and you alluded to this. Obviously, when you guys were an Indians affiliate, every once in a while, and you saw Danny Salazar make a rehab appearance. You saw Mike Clevenger a couple of years ago make a minor league rehab appearance in Mahoning Valley, and people were showing up to see that. All right, now the trade-off with this is you're going to get, as you alluded to, you're going to be getting some kids that some folks may look and say, oh, man, this guy's going to be going to be drafted really high in the Major League Baseball draft. Let's see what this kid is all about. More importantly, in previous years, when we were with the Indians affiliation, the New York Penn League ended their season on Labor Day weekend. Let's This is no breaking news. This area loves two things: high school football and the Canfield Fair. Now, the Canfield Fair was not in play last year thanks to COVID. High school football wasn't in play per se. But in a healthy, normal year, these two objects were a very large couple of objects that the Scrappers had to maneuver around. The beautiful thing about the Major League Baseball Draft League is your season is going to be over before the high school football season starts and well before the Canfield Fair starts. Those two obstacles are out of the way. As an organization, you got to be smiling ear to ear. You're no longer in competition with two stalwarts of the Mahoning Valley in the Canfield Fair and high school football.
Yeah, for 100%. I mean, we were I won't lie, every year when our schedule came out, I'd have to look and see, okay, from August 20th on, how many home games do we have? And in particular, how many, Fridays and Saturdays. So it's nice to not have that. And from a business perspective, being able to put more home games in, late May, potentially early June, that should be a real net positive for us, just because those, throughout the traditional minor league schedule, teams who have those games who are, in the full season, that's really when they start ramping up attendance-wise. And we hadn't had that benefit of, having that, 3 weeks to a month on the front end that the full season teams did. So I think it'll be a good thing for us in terms of our, ability to draw fans.
Jordan Taylor, General Manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. All right, what is the official start, if we have an official start, for the Major League Baseball Draft League, and where do we go about getting the roster together? Can you fill us in on those details, Jordan?
Sure. So we are, just to give you some, I guess, inside info on what we're doing right now. So we are, in pretty constant meetings and communication with Major League Baseball and Prep Baseball Report, who's also, partners with us in this league from the scouting side. We have started to get drafts of the schedule. We're doing a couple tweaks on it. I anticipate we'll have a schedule out by first part of February. So it'll have, 35 home games, comparable to, what the Scrappers had. Looks to me it's going to be, a late May start with finishing up mid-August, as they had initially, talked about with us. So we're working, that's the schedule side of things. So hopefully soon we'll have that to be able to be released. On the player side of things, again, Major League Baseball and Prep Baseball Report have been working on getting player commitments since November. And what the plan is they're going to start, even if it's not team-specific, starting to release the players who are committed to this league. And then I think, once that group is all situated, they're going to divvy them out as equitably as possible to each of the communities. So that'll be, I think, starting also in February. And then we were told by March 1st, we'll have all of our managers and coaching staffs in place.
All right, let me ask you, Jordan Taylor, the General Manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Will geography play a part in this? I mean, let's assume for a second that someone has a wow season at Ohio State or Youngstown State or one of the MAC schools in Ohio. Would geography play a role in determining where that player goes to?
Yes, definitely so. So we will, in that instance, if it is, like you said, an Ohio State player, Cincinnati, any of the MAC, Kent State, any of the MAC schools, we will most likely get that player. The only situation where we might not would be if that player, say, played at Ohio State, but he lives near Trenton. They'd probably put him there just because he's a hometown player. So that would be, I think, the only time when that wouldn't be the case. So yeah, it'll have definitely a local tie, and if not local, regional. So even going into like the Michigans, Notre Dame, schools like that, we may see those type of players circulate with us. State College would get any of the Penn State, Pitt potentially type players. Then our West Virginia team would get, any of the players from University of West Virginia. So that's what they told us on that side.
Jordan, you made mention earlier in the interview, Major League Baseball is fully behind this, and Major League Baseball plans on marketing this extremely well. Now, let's be honest, Major League Baseball has not marketed Major League Baseball extremely well, but I do believe that there is an awful lot of ideas that can be used using the minor league model to just promote the living daylights out of this draft league. And I got to imagine that there are some former big league players, some prominent big league players that would, and dare I say, Hall of Famers are going to be involved in this.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, especially as they're going to be, coming into, each of the communities to talk to the group of players. They are, setting up those networks and getting, involvements there. I think even, on the manager side of things, it wouldn't be a surprise to see, former big leaguers be managers, of some of these ball clubs. So, I mean, you'll definitely see that. There's also going to be just a bigger emphasis placed on the Major League Baseball draft moving forward, while, it kind of fell behind some of the other sports in terms of coverage and awareness. I think with the explosion of popularity of college baseball and, games being broadcast in the last handful of years, there's a real opportunity to start to get these players more known while they're in college and then come to these communities and then be drafted. And, with the draft also being tied into the Major League All-Star game moving forward, it's going to get a lot more publicity, and we're just going to be tied into all of that.
Jordan, as we go into the season, obviously minor league baseball is such a great event. And speaking of someone who's done it before, it just there's a big difference between minor league baseball and Major League Baseball. The promotions aside is the biggest difference. I mean, there's you have so many unique ideas that minor league baseball brings to the table. Are you guys going to use those same ideas as we go into this draft league?
Yes. So a lot of the things that we've done with our team on the business promotion side of things, that's all going to carry out. So that's going to look, for the fans coming in to watch a game this year, it's going to look the same, if not better. We actually may have a little more flexibility on some things in this league. And then, also as a subset of that, the community relations efforts also will, continue, as they have as well. So it's going to look very similar to what fans have been accustomed to with the Scrappers.
Now let's talk about the draft itself. Major League Baseball draft is going to be held in conjunction with All-Star Week, and the All-Star festivities this year will be in Atlanta, Georgia, which is pretty great and special, considering we just lost arguably one of the greatest to ever play the game in Henry Aaron, who spent most of his career in Atlanta. It's only apropos that the All-Star game would be played in Atlanta, Georgia, but I digress. You get the Major League Baseball draft. Once that draft is completed, you assume that a lot of these kids are going to be signing on the dotted line, and a lot of these kids from the MLB Draft League will now be the property of whoever they sign with. Where do these guys go once they sign a contract, and what is the timeline for the replacements of these players?
Yeah, so the way we've been told, it's going to be a case-by-case and basis, and sometimes depending on the organization. The one opportunity that we have that Major League Baseball saw was since there is not short season baseball, there's really nowhere for these players to go for the last handful of weeks of our season. So I think the hope is that a good chunk of these players are just going to finish out their year with us, even if they're a little bit more restricted on innings or days of the week that they're playing, things like that. There are going to be a number. If it's a super high round pick who's thrown a lot of innings, that type of player most likely is going to get shut down at that point. And would, just travel to the Major League Spring Training Complex. I think then once our season ends, most of those players will leave, have a couple weeks off, and then report into their respective spring training complex and get ready for instructional league, where they can, start to get to know the players a little bit more.
And this isn't going to be much of a difference from the New York Penn League, where most of the kids graduated from the New York Penn League and went on to low A baseball. If you didn't graduate, you were either released or you spent another year in the New York Penn League. I'm going to assume that you're not going to have any repeaters in the draft league. I mean, you're going to have a set of players in year number one. Those set of players are done after year number one. Year number two, you're going to have another set of players. And I think that's the part where the MLB Draft League could be really, really fun to watch on a year-in, year-out basis, because you won't see the same player 2 years in a row.
Yep, that's true. The only, I would say, exception to that would be, say it's a college, junior who may not have been happy with their draft position, or the signing bonus they were offered and just chose to go back for last year. But those cases, for anybody who's a top 10 round pick, it's pretty rare. I mean, it's only a handful of those guys don't end up signing, each year, especially out of the college ranks. So I would say repeats are pretty unlikely for this league.
Jordan, before we let you go, and again, Jordan Taylor, General Manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Season ticket sales, the single game tickets, group sales, the lifeblood of minor league baseball. Advertising sales and group sales are the lifeblood, along with the season tickets. What has the mood been like to the business owners and the folks that have spent a significant amount of money in the previous years as a Scrapper sponsor? What is the mood of those people as we now go into a new phase of Scrappers baseball?
I would say overwhelmingly positive. Our conversations, I would say in terms of renewals right now, we're hitting about 90% on the corporate sales side of things. I'd say everybody's really excited that there's still going to be a team here and that there's a major league tie into it. Where we've seen some hits is potentially some of our sponsors who were really affected COVID wise, where they're having it's a different situation than when we were talking to them over a year ago. So that's where we've seen a bit of a hit. But ticket holders, sponsors, we haven't gotten a ton into the groups just yet because that tends to happen once our schedule's out. But from package-wise and sponsor-wise, we're feeling like it's going to be very similar to where we were before.
Jordan, do you expect the ticket prices to be basically the same as in previous years?
Yep. Yeah, I think we're going to keep, essentially everything the same. We may come up with some new options, but especially with, some changes with COVID and things that, may allow for more in-seating service and things like that. But, basic tickets, we anticipate being the same.
I wasn't a fan of Major League Baseball killing the New York Penn League, but this alternative, my goodness, this alternative has the makings to be even more impressive than the New York Penn League, and I would encourage the fan base of previous years. You're going to love this product if it is done right. Major League Baseball might have come up with an absolute diamond, pun intended. They might have come up with the greatest idea in a long, long time. This has the makings to be something really special.
Yep, no, I agree completely. And, we're just, like I said, if people are interested in jumping on board, a lot of information's on our website just to find out more about the league at mvscrappers.com, or, reach out via email. We're happy to connect and answer any questions people may have.
Fireworks nights and the bobbleheads and all the other stuff are going to remain the same.
Yep, everything's the same. We're lining up the promotional schedule right now, so it's it'll look, all the things people enjoy about Scrappers on that side of things will stay the same.
Jordan, always a pleasure. Look forward to the start of the season, and look forward to seeing who's going to be managing the Scrappers.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully we'll know that for soon, and appreciate the time, Ron.
All right, be well and stay busy out there.
Yep, we'll do. Thank you.
You got it. Jordan Taylor, he is the general manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. I'm going to tell you what, I was not a fan of Major League Baseball killing the New York Penn League, and I'm still kind of sort of a little pissed off at Major League Baseball for doing this. But in terms of this particular league, if it's marketed correctly, oh man, is this a great idea. I mean, this has the makings of being one of the best ideas Major League Baseball has ever come up with. And again, if it's marketed correctly, boy, is this going to be fun to watch. And I will say this without any hesitation. From a baseball standpoint, the product is going to be much better this year and in years to come than the New York Penn League. And the product is going to be a lot better, actually, because now you're looking at guys that are pretty much going to be drafted in a Major League Baseball draft that's now going to be 20 rounds long. Most, if not all, of these guys participating in this draft league, they're all going to be drafted. I would say a high 90 percentile of these kids will be drafted. The talent level is going to be much greater than the talent level of an average New York Penn League season. I look forward to seeing what Major League Baseball does with this MLB draft league, and the fact that the Scrappers are one of the 6 teams that are taking part in this draft league, and the fact that Major League Baseball is all on board along with Prep Baseball Report. This has the makings of something really, really special. All right, we're going to take a timeout, be back with more. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. If you want to comment on Jordan Taylor's conversation we had with the Scrappers general manager. If you want to comment on the excitement level that you have with the Scrappers this year being in the brand new Major League Baseball Draft League, you can certainly give me a shout on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, 330-886-0813. We made mention Ken Grisdale getting victory number 500 for his career. The Bulldogs now 10-3 on the campaign. Struthers got a win over South Range at the Fieldhouse last night. They were actually down at halftime, 25-21. Kudos to Coach Cullen and the South Range Raiders. I mean, they're playing some solid defense. That's a staple of a John Cullen coach team. They're going to play solid defense, but you just can't keep this team down. Struthers outscored South Range in the second half, 36-19, en route to a 59-44 victory. The Wildcats are 15-0 on the campaign. That's a good basketball team. It's a really good basketball team. Cheney knocking off Ursuline last night, 67-62. Solid victory for the Cheney Cowboys. Couple of teams that are going to be doing battle in Division II. West Branch, another team that a lot of folks really don't talk enough about. West Branch is now 11-4 on the campaign. They knock off Marlington last night, 55-45. I broadcast the Crestview game. The Rebels picked up another victory. They are 5-1 in the gray tier. They've already beaten LeBray, Champion, Brookfield, and they've beaten Camel twice. The only team they lost to this year in the gray tier, Liberty. Now, they'll play Newton Falls a couple of times. They still got to play Newton Falls a couple of times. And Newton Falls is undefeated. They're 5-0 in the league, 8-1 overall. They beat Liberty last night. And again, we made mention of this. Rule number 1. You never take your starters out of a ball game until the opposing coach on the losing end of the stick takes out his starters. And that was a lesson that was painfully learned last night in Liberty. Leopards had a 25-point lead in the fourth quarter, and that lead disappeared faster than pasta at the Potesta household. And that disappears pretty quick, kids, let me tell you. Newton Falls gets a double overtime victory over Liberty last night, 70-65. Lisbon gets a big win last night over Leetonia in Lisbon. The Blue Devils now 7-1 in the EOAC, 10-3 overall. The Bears had a 3-game winning streak snapped. They lose to Lisbon last night, 69-43. The Bears now 5-7 on the campaign. Girard, a winner over Niles. The Indians pick up their second win of the season. Two teams that are starting to try to get as many games played as possible. Champion got a victory over Badger, non-conference win. Lordstown getting a win over Maplewood. We mentioned Cheney's victory over Ursuline. Valley Christian jumping off the loss to Wellsville. They went back home and beat Columbiana 74-48. So Valley Christian now 6-3 on the campaign, 5-2 in the league. And that league is still very much up for grabs. That is a league that is still very much up for grabs with Southern, Wellsville, Valley Christian. They're all trying to chase down Lisbon, and we'll see what happens there. A couple of girls' games from last night. Jackson Milton knocked off Bristol. The Blue Jays pick up their 10th victory of the season. Badger falls to 3-1. Hubbard knocks off Warren JFK 50-29. Both teams, and again, we made mention of this, with COVID, especially with the Trumbull County teams, you're going to be seeing girls' games played on what would normally be a guys' night. Which is Tuesdays and Fridays. You'll see girls basketball being played on Tuesdays and Fridays. And frankly, you'll see boys games played on Monday or Wednesday or Thursday. And obviously both boys and girls play on Saturday. So there's going to be games that you would not normally see on a, quote, boys' night. You'll see girls' games. On a, quote, girls' night, you'll see boys' games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we get through the rest of the regular season and on into the postseason. The Baseball Hall of Fame had their voting yesterday, and they didn't vote anybody in to the Baseball Hall of Fame. A lot of folks chirping today about why Curt Schilling is not in the Hall of Fame, or why Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame, and why Roger Clemens didn't get into the Hall of Fame. And listen, I know some guys that do the voting on this. And the voting is done based upon a criteria that Major League Baseball sets. And right now, in 2020, nobody got the 75%. Now, Curt Schilling wants to remove himself from next year's Hall of Fame ballot. He has one more year. So does Bonds and so does Clemens. They all have one more year to try to get to 75%. Schilling's ticked off, and he believes that his conservative stance is the reason why he's not a Hall of Famer right now. And let me be honest when I say that, that is the biggest load of garbage I've ever heard in my life. Now, I will freely admit that there are a lot of people that would cringe at what Schilling has said over the last few years. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at Curt Schilling's numbers, he is a borderline Hall of Famer at best. There's a case to be made where he's not a Hall of Famer. There's a case to be made that he is a Hall of Famer. If you take away his postseason numbers, Curt Schilling is not a Hall of Famer in any way, shape, or form. A 3.45 earned run average is not Hall of Fame material. He has never won a Cy Young Award. He's won 20 or more games 3 times in his career. He's had an earned run average below 3 as a starting pitcher 3 times in his career. In a 21-year career. Taking away postseason numbers, he's not a Hall of Famer. The reason why he is a borderline Hall of Famer is because of the fact that his postseason numbers are incredible. They're absolutely incredible. If you put all of this together in his resume is a borderline Hall of Famer. Borderline. To put this in proper context, Jack Morris, who had 40 more career victories than Curt Schilling, a lower earned run average for most of his career. I don't believe he ended up with a lower earned run average, but for most of his career, he had a lower earned run average than Curt Schilling. Jack Morris was not voted into the Hall of Fame by the Baseball Writers Association of America. Jack Morris was put in via the Veterans Committee. And there's there's nothing wrong with being voted in by the Veterans Committee. I mean, good Lord. The Veterans Committee, it's the existential part of the Hall of Fame. It most definitely is. By the way, Jack Morris's career earned run average, 3.90. One of the many reasons why he was a borderline Hall of Famer. Jack Morris won 254 games. His earned run average, 3.90, by far and away the highest earned run average of all the pitchers in Major League Baseball. Like Curt Schilling, Jack Morris won 20 or more games 3 times. In his career, Jack Morris never had an earned run average for a season below 3. one of the reasons why he was a borderline Hall of Famer when he was voted in or when he was on the ballot. Jack Morris, in his Major League Baseball career, never won a Cy Young Award. Jack Morris and Curt Schilling are essentially the same body of work. Borderline Hall of Famers. The numbers are not there to scream, wow, this guy completely dominated Major League Baseball. He is a truly great player. We must vote him into the Hall of Fame. He was borderline. And when you're borderline, you're going to get a serious argument. I hate to say this, but as an Indians fan, I'd love to have Omar Vasquel go into the Hall of Fame. I mean, look, they put Ozzie Smith into the Hall of Fame. Omar Vasquel should be in the Hall of Fame. They both are very comparable defensively, very comparable offensively. But here's the thing. Omar Vasquel is a borderline Hall of Famer. He's borderline. I don't know if he's going to get into the Hall of Fame or not. Now, especially with the stuff coming out with his ex-wife, and I don't necessarily buy all of it hook, line, and sinker, but, the ex-wife was saying that, he had domestic violence issues. Well, that speaks to the character part of this. And when you're a borderline Hall of Famer, the character is going to be a little bit more involved than anything else. Now, let me just say this. Bonds and Clemens, there's no reason for these two players not to be in Cooperstown. None. And I say this with this little caveat in mind. Major League Baseball, and it wasn't the Hall of Fame writers, the Baseball Writers Association of America. They didn't vote him in. The Veterans Committee did. Veterans Committee voted in the commissioner of baseball during the steroid era. The guy that knew what was going on turned a blind eye because Major League Baseball was averaging over 30,000 plus fans a game. Don't tell me Bud Selig didn't know steroids existed. He did. There's no two ways about this. He did. He didn't do anything about it because money was pouring in from the fans. The fans were coming in droves to see Major League Baseball. The attendance was well over 30,000 fans per game during the steroid era. Bud Selig knew that guys were taking steroids, and he turned a blind eye toward it. Why? Because the money was there. It's all about the Benjamins, after all. So the argument of, well, we can't put Bonds and we can't put Clemens and we can't put Alex Rodriguez or any of these other juicers into the Hall of Fame. Bull crap. You absolutely can, because you put the ringleader in the Hall of Fame. You put the guy in the Hall of Fame that was basically the commissioner. Well, he wasn't basically. He was the commissioner of Major League Baseball during this era, and he knew exactly what was going on and turned a blind eye toward it. So if you've put Bud Selig into the Hall of Fame, it goes without saying Barry Lamar Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. Roger Clemens belongs in the Hall of Fame. Alex Rodriguez, A-Royd, belongs in the Hall of Fame. Manny Ramirez belongs in the Hall of Fame. Now, I can see where Ramirez doesn't get into the Hall of Fame because, well, here's the rub. Major League Baseball, after they finally cleared their eyes of whatever was bothering them, realized, well, we can't have this. The holier-than-thou commissioner, well, we can't have this. We're going to put some things down in writing that tells people that you're not allowed to test positive, and if you do, there's going to be strict things that are going to prohibit you from playing on the baseball again. Well, Manny got caught not once but twice. Alex Rodriguez got caught and lost a complete season. So you can make an argument both of these guys don't belong in the Hall of Fame. But again, the thing that trumps everything is Bud Selig, the man that was the commissioner of Major League Baseball during the steroid era. He knew all about the steroids and turned a blind eye toward them because people were coming to the stadiums at record levels, and he didn't want to disturb the amount of money, the insane amount of money coming into Major League Baseball. He's in the Hall of Fame. So if this guy's in the Hall of Fame, then all the guys that were doing the steroids and the human growth hormones and all that other stuff, let him into the Hall of Fame. Because the guy that was in charge of baseball during that era, he's in the Hall of Fame. So Bonds, Clemens, they should be in the Hall of Fame. Schilling, his numbers are borderline. Yeah, and again, I don't agree with much of what he says with his political views. I don't care about that stuff. I know guys that vote. They're not interested in Curt Schilling's political viewpoint. They just want to know, okay, what was his numbers like? Do you think he belongs in the Hall of Fame? No, his numbers are borderline. There's an argument to be made in either direction that Curt Schilling does not belong or does belong in the Hall of Fame. Hence the reason why Curt Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame right now. Because there's a borderline case. It's not like Curt Schilling was, Sandy Koufax, where it's a slam dunk. It's not like he was, Tom Seaver, where it's a slam dunk, or Jim Palmer, or some pitcher that is a Hall of Famer. Curt Schilling is borderline. And all of these people that are pissed off that are saying, wow, Curt Schilling's viewpoints politically are the reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame. No, he's not in the Hall of Fame because his numbers are not Hall of Famer worthy. And you can make an argument of that. He's too borderline Hall of Fame. He is the exact same pitcher as Jack Morris. A lower earned run average, not enough wins. Jack Morris and Curt Schilling were both borderline Hall of Famers. And at the end of the day, Jack Morris didn't get put into the Hall of Fame by the Baseball Writers Association of America. He got in by the Veterans Committee. And guess what? Curt Schilling will go into the Hall of Fame one day. The Veterans Committee will put him in. They'll put him in because, we played against him, and he put up, he was money in the postseason. The Veterans Committee will put this guy in at some point in time. But it's the reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame right now. It has nothing to do with his political viewpoints. It has everything to do with the fact that Curt Schilling's numbers are borderline at best. Hell, I'd rather have Oral Hershiser than Curt Schilling. Oral Hershiser in his prime or Curt Schilling in his prime. I'm going to take Hershiser any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Oral Hershiser's not getting into the Hall of Fame. But in his prime, I'll take him over Schilling any day of the week. It's whenever the Hall of Fame writers don't vote anybody in, everyone gets outraged. Well, these people should be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. Look, Buster Olney said something that I think makes perfect sense. Leave it up to the Hall of Fame. Leave it up to the Hall of Fame to sit back and talk about character flaws. Don't leave it up to the writers. What the writers should be voting on is the numbers. That's it. Everything else should go by way of the Hall of Fame. It's your museum. Yeah, but the Baseball Writers Association of America, here's the thing people need to understand. And I learned this from our friend of the show, John Parado. The Hall of Fame puts together the electees. The Hall of Fame puts together the ballot. The Hall of Fame writers, the writers that are voting for members to go into the Hall of Fame, they have nothing to do with who's on the ballot. That's all about the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. And it's a museum. It has nothing to do with Major League Baseball. Now, Major League Baseball loves the fact that, you have a Hall of Fame, and you love the fact that, that you get an opportunity to go to Cooperstown. And by the way, I've gone there, and if you're a baseball fan, I wholeheartedly suggest you take the drive to upstate New York and go to Cooperstown, because it is an absolutely phenomenal Hall of Fame. It is right up there with the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. Both of the facilities are absolutely gorgeous. And if you're a Major League Baseball fan, you owe it to yourself to make a trip there. But the Major League Baseball, or the Baseball Hall of Fame, they're the people that are in charge of putting the candidates. They're the people that are in charge of, just putting those names on the ballot. Now, personally, being that this does not have any affiliation with Major League Baseball per se, a lot of the sports writers have asked, hey, we just won an opportunity to vote for Pete Rose one year, and put Rose on the ballot and give us an opportunity to say yes or no, even if it's for 1 year. Now, again, I have a strong opinion about this. If you're going to go by the letter of the law, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, because he did the one thing that Major League Baseball has frowned upon, the one thing that is the greatest stain on the game of baseball. And that was after the World Series of 1919 that was thrown, and they came together and said, you can no longer bet on Major League Baseball. You can no longer be associated with betting on Major League Baseball, whether it's on your team or against your team. You just can't bet on baseball. And I've made mention of this. You go to any minor league clubhouse or major league clubhouse, and there is a placard, there is a poster board that is on the door as you walk in or walk out. There is a big poster-sized board reminding everyone, you are not allowed to bet on baseball. It's in every minor league and every major league clubhouse. It is a sober reminder, you are not allowed to bet on Major League Baseball. Pete Rose decided to not really pay any attention to that. And for that reason and that reason alone, I don't believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Now, that doesn't mean that Pete Rose isn't one of the greatest players of all time. He absolutely is. There's no two ways about it. But that's the big reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame. And one of the big reasons why he will probably never be in the Hall of Fame. And it's not anything to do with the writers. The Hall of Fame has flat out said he's ineligible. Even if the writers wanted to vote on Pete Rose or wanted to vote for Pete Rose, his name is not ever going to be on the ballot unless Major League Baseball, or unless the Baseball Hall of Fame, unless the folks that run the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, unless they decide, hey, you know what, we're going to give the writers one opportunity to vote thumbs up or thumbs down to Pete Rose. So far, the writers have never had that opportunity. So when people sit back and blame the writers for not having Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, you're blaming the wrong people. You're blaming the wrong people. You're barking up the wrong tree. It's the Hall of Fame and those that run the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown that are not putting Pete Rose on the ballot. Those are the people. Now, you can argue about the current situation and the fact that, well, Curt Schilling's not in the Hall of Fame. Well, this is baloney. Well, you can argue with the Baseball Writers Association of America on this. You can argue that. Yeah, absolutely you can. Those are the people that are in charge of that particular vote. You can argue with those people. But I will tell you, if I had been fortunate enough to have a vote, I wouldn't have put Curt Schilling on the Hall of Fame ballot. Not because of his stance, political stance. None of that. I don't care about that stuff. I don't even care about the character issue. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the character issue goes out the window when you got Ty Cobb in the Hall of Fame, and his character's issues were flawed, and I'm being kind. There's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that had some serious character issues. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, a number of players that in some way, shape, or form cheated. I got no problems with that stuff. I don't care about that stuff. What did this person do between the lines? Was this person Hall of Fame worthy between the lines? That's the only thing that I would be caring about. And again, that's just my personal opinion. That would be the only thing that I would care about. And if I had a vote, I'm sorry, I wouldn't have Curt Schilling in the Hall of Fame. His numbers are borderline. Now, that's just my opinion. If we're talking postseason, if there's such a thing as a postseason Hall of Fame, oh, good Lord, absolutely. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. If we're going postseason Hall of Fame, he's near the top of the list. He's one of the best money pitchers of all time. But his regular season numbers, they're pedestrian. In terms of a Hall of Fame, they're pedestrian. They're borderline. The Hall of Fame is not for very good. It's for the elite. And in my humble opinion, I don't think Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer because his numbers are borderline. Now, having said that, would I argue if Curt Schilling goes into the Hall of Fame? Hell no, I wouldn't. Especially, if the Veterans Committee brings him in, all right, fine. Veterans Committee brought in Ted Simmons. Hell, I don't think Ted Simmons is a Hall of Famer, but Ted Simmons is going into the Hall of Fame courtesy of the Veterans Committee. And the Veterans Committee has cleaned up an awful lot of messes that the Baseball Writers Association of America failed to do. Marvin Miller is the biggest example. And some other players. But, this year, they left the ballot blank. Well, personally, in my mind, Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Clemens is a Hall of Famer. Omar Vasquel, if you're going to put Ozzie Smith in the Hall of Fame, Omar Vasquel has to be in the Hall of Fame because they're both comparable, both offensively and defensively. I think that Vasquel was a shade better defensively than Ozzie was. And I say this because Omar was better in the hole. That would be to his right. Omar was better at flagging down flares into shallow left and shallow left center field, and Omar had a higher fielding percentage. The only thing that Ozzie was better than Omar was defensively, both of their arms were very comparable. The only thing where I give Ozzie an edge over Omar, and frankly, he's an edge over everybody. I've never seen a shortstop go to his left better than Ozzie Smith. Now, as a shortstop, if you're going to your left, that means you're going up the middle, toward the second base bag, behind the second base bag. Ozzie Smith went to his left better than any shortstop in the history of baseball, and frankly, it's not even close. Ozzie Smith was that good, had that great of range up the middle to his left. But to his right, I'll take Vasquel. Going back on a fly ball into shallow left center field, I'll take Vasquel. Fielding the ball and throwing to first base, I'll take Vasquel. And Omar was better than Ozzie batting average-wise, but again, that doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, Ozzie had a better on-base percentage. Both guys really didn't swing for the fences. I mean, look, if you're putting Ozzie into the Hall of Fame, Omar belongs in the Hall of Fame as well. So the only three guys on the ballot that I would sit back and say without any hesitation, they have my vote, Bonds, Clemens, and Vasquel, without any hesitation. The rest of the guys, you can make an argument. I love Manny Ramirez, but look, I mean, the steroid rules were put in place, and Manny screwed up not once but twice. I have a hard time putting a guy into the Hall of Fame that did something that stupid. Not to say that he wasn't a Hall of Famer. I mean, before he took juice, I got to believe that, yeah, he's one of the greatest right-handed hitters I've ever seen in my lifetime. But, again, you gotta punish stupidity, and you got to be an absolute moron to fail the drug test not once but twice. You got to be an absolute moron. The same thing with Rodriguez. A-Rod's going to go on the ballot next year, and it'll be the first time, and he'll have a 10-year window. I don't know if Alex will ever get into the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Probably not because of the issue of steroids, and maybe we see the Veterans Committee put these guys into the Hall of Fame once the Veterans Committee meets up. Then again, Major League Baseball, those that are in Cooperstown, a lot of those people, they have no respect whatsoever for the juicers. None. And I find it interesting, and I don't speak ill of the dead in any way, shape, or form, and Hank Aaron passed away late last week. But this is no secret. Henry Aaron took greenies. In the time in which greenies were popped like, they were given out like Halloween candy on Halloween night, and he and his contemporaries, they used greenies, amphetamines, to juice themselves up for the second game of a doubleheader or day game after a night game. Those things were passed out like candy back in the day. Nobody said anything about that. Well, okay, in the grand scheme of things, is it as bad as the steroid era? Probably not, but cheating is cheating. I mean, you can make an argument. Okay, if you're gonna go into the argument of cheating, what about this stuff? And oh, by the way, this stuff is against the law. You're not supposed to have this stuff. There was a kind of a thing going around. Oh, you're taking amphetamines. Those are kind of against the law. Forget about baseball for a second. Those things are kind of against the law in general. But nobody said boo about that stuff. I mean, the hypocrisy is a little different, and that's part of the beef that I have with the steroid era and those that are frowning on it. Look, I'll say it again, and then we'll take a break. The ringleader in all of this, the commissioner who knew all about it and did nothing about it, is in the Hall of Fame. And if he's in the Hall of Fame, then you should probably put in the folks that were actually going about doing steroids under the watch of the commissioner, who, by the way, is in the Hall of Fame. 330-886-0813. We'll take a timeout, be back with more. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local, independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
High-res Futurecast shows steady snow for the next few hours.
Still just downright cold.
It is bitter out there.
Several strong bands of lake effect snow.
Winds is kind of the big story today as well.
So if you need a more detailed winter forecast on WFMJ.com and the Storm Tracker 21 app.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. All right, basketball on the network tonight. We got about 6 games. Here you go. JV girls basketball. Tonight, Monroe Central will visit Edison. That game is going to get underway at 5:30 this evening. 5:30 this evening, JV girls basketball from Edison High School, Monroe Central taking on Edison. At 6:30 or thereabouts tonight, Minerva will visit Beaver Local. At 6:30 or thereabouts tonight, girls basketball, Columbiana is at Springfield. The 7 o'clock games, which means that the JV games will get underway at 5:30. We made mention Monroe Central at Edison. JV game starts at 5:30. Varsity game will start somewhere around 7 o'clock, depending on how fast the JV game ends. The Holy War in Youngstown, Cardinal Mooney will go to Ursuline, as Mooney will vacate the south end of town and trek over to the north end of the city on Wick Avenue as they take on the Ursuline Irish. That game will start somewhere in the vicinity of 7 o'clock. And a girls' basketball game from the Canton suburb of Louisville. Cheney will travel to Louisville, and that game will get underway sometime around 7 o'clock. So 6 games on the network tonight, and have at it. Some good basketball. good basketball on the network tonight, and that should be all kinds of fun. We made mention yesterday that the United girls were in action against Wellsville. That game was the prelude to the United Wellsville varsity boys basketball game. Well, the United girls went to 11-6 on the campaign with a 59-19 victory over the winless Wellsville Tigers. So United, again, starting to certainly put together a really, really nice basketball season, as United is going to be heard from, not just in the EOAC. That's a team that's going to be heard from in the tournaments as well. Yeah, I don't want to fast forward anything because we still have plenty of basketball to be played and conference championships to be won. But, you know, part of me would love to fast forward about a month down the road and let's see where we are come tournament time. But, you know, obviously lots and lots and lots of basketball left to be played, and certainly there's some really good teams that are going to be a lot of fun to watch between now and tournament time. Let me ask you to go to ysnlive.com or go to the Twitter account, ysnlive.com. It's an interesting question that has been posed. Who would be in your fantasy starting five for boys basketball? Now, this is interesting because obviously you get to encompass all of the teams in the YSN family. Man, this could be entertaining to see who would garner the five most votes to get into the starting five for boys basketball. And you know, obviously there's plenty of candidates. I don't think there's any question about that. There is a ton of candidates for the starting five. I don't even think I can put together a starting five without leaving off some really good kids. That would be a tough thing to do. I think toward the end of the season, though, I'd love to see someone sit back and put together a starting five encompassing of the YSN family. I think that would be not just on the boys but on the girls as well, and have a first team and on a second team all YSN. I think that would be really cool. But again, man, good luck trying to figure that one out. There's some guys and girls that I think you definitely have to consider them. You know, and it's the same thing with coaching. You know, I go back about 50 years. I hate to say that, but somewhere in the vicinity of 50 years of high school basketball. And with Ken Grisdale getting his 500th victory in his 28th and final season of coaching high school basketball at Poland, you know, I look back and I'm like, well, now I got to find some room for Coach Grisdale when it comes time to putting together the Mount Rushmore of high school basketball coaches, boys high school basketball coaches in the Mahoning Valley. And there are some candidates. There are a number of candidates that you can put on that Mount Rushmore. Alan Burns from Boardman, Rick Brook from Sebring, Ken Grisdale from Poland, Bob Larica at Warren Western Reserve, Coach Frank Sigletti from Rayen. Now, obviously, a lot of other big-name coaches that are definitely, you can make an argument that they belong on that list. That's a fascinating. You can get a fascinating amount of people. Coach Brazil with McDonald. One can argue that he can most definitely carve his name, or at least be a prime candidate to be on that Mount Rushmore. No two ways about it. And then you go over to girls basketball, and boy, the arguments can be continued because there's a ton of girls coaches. And when Anthony gets here tomorrow, and he's off today, when Anthony gets here tomorrow, we've got some high school girls coaches that are hopefully going to be calling in tomorrow. And I know Coach Collar from McDonald is going to be calling in. And we're hoping to get some other high school girls basketball coaches to call in. I'm going to ask Anthony about this because there's some coaches that you can definitely argue belong on the girls high school coaches Mount Rushmore list. Plenty of candidates, and we'll let Anthony discuss some of those names. But one that comes out in mind is no longer coaching. Ron Michella. He won a ton of games. Oh my goodness, he won a ton of games. There's plenty of candidates on both ends of the spectrum, and again, congratulations to Coach Grisdale for picking up career win number 500. We made mention on the program earlier today. Think about this for a second. If Poland doesn't win another game the rest of the year, and let's be honest, they're going to win a lot more than 0 before the end of the season. They're not going winless the rest of the year. But if they were, 17.86 wins per year over 28 years is 500 victories. 17.86. And whether you base that on a 20-game season or a 22-game season, and you got to include the tournaments. So whether it's, let's say, 25 or 27 games, that's a hell of a lot of wins per year. And we're basically talking about every single year, regardless if you have a really good team or no chance. To average 17.86 victories per year over 28 years. Jaw-dropping amazing. Absolutely amazing. Kudos to Coach Grisdale. He started his basketball career 93-94 season at Poland. And he will conclude at the end of this year a 28-year run as the head basketball coach at Poland. Look, he's taken 3 teams down to Columbus. That's unbelievable in and of itself. There are a lot of coaches that have done a great job but have yet never taken a team down to Columbus. They lose in the regionals, whether it be the regional semis or the regional championship game. To get to Columbus is an unbelievable accomplishment. Whether you win a state championship or not, if you get to the Final Four in your respective sport, you have done an absolutely amazing job. Regardless of the sport, you have done an amazing job if you get to the Final Four. In basketball, football, volleyball, baseball, softball, if your track and field team finishes in the top 4 in the state meet, you have done an unbelievable job. You really have. All right, news just breaking out of Pittsburgh. Penguins GM has just resigned, Jim Rutherford. He has resigned as general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is citing personal reasons for his resignation. Patrick Alvin, the team's assistant general manager, has just been promoted to interim GM. The search for a new GM will begin immediately. Again, breaking news coming out of Pittsburgh. Penguins general manager Jim Rutherford has abruptly resigned as general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He had led the Penguins, or was at the helm of the Penguins as the GM when they won Stanley Cups in 2016 and 2017. Personal reasons. That would be the reason why Jim Rutherford has just stepped down as the general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, Patrick Alvin, the team's assistant GM. He is now the interim GM, as a search for a new GM will begin immediately. I didn't see that one coming. All right, so the Penguins, who are currently in the top four, I might add, in the wacky setup of the NHL. We had Tom Callahan on to preview this, and he had made mention that he believed that Columbus had a much better chance at going into the playoffs than Pittsburgh did. He had the Penguins on the outside of the top four, because the top four in each division go to the playoffs. It's early on. Top four right now in the Eastern Division: Washington, Boston, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. New Jersey and Buffalo on the heels of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh in the Eastern Division. The Blue Jackets right now leading the Central Division, albeit not by much. They have 7 points. They lead Florida, Tampa Bay, Nashville, and Chicago, who each have 6 points. Everyone, the East, the Central, and the West are all American hockey teams in the NHL. And then the Northern Division is the Canadian Division. Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, and Ottawa are in that division. By the way, the top four in that division: Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, and right now Edmonton and Vancouver are tied for the last spot with 6 points. Some good hockey early on. I'm digging this new format of the NHL. But again, the big news coming out of Pittsburgh: Jim Rutherford, the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins, has resigned as the general manager. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other side, Rob Schmidt will be talking YSU men's basketball. Over the weekend, the Penguins split with UIC. Could have swept this 2-game series. They didn't. We will talk about the upcoming week. The Penguins are back home. We'll preview the series, and we'll preview the rest of the season. And do we have any updates on Darius Quisenberry and his injury? We'll get to Rob Schmidt. We'll talk with Rob and take your phone calls in the 2 o'clock hour as well. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. We're back in a bit. Stick around.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit WRSWealthAdvisors.com. Good luck, athletes.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy efficient experts.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. And joining me, as he always does, every Wednesday at this time on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, the voice of the YSU men's basketball program, Mr. Rob Schmitz. Mr. Schmitz, how are you today?
Oh, not bad for a Wednesday, not bad at all.
All right, so over the weekend, Youngstown State's playing 2 at Beagley, taking on UIC, and Youngstown State, after losing the first game on a buzzer beater, knocked off UIC to get the split on Saturday. They beat UIC 85-77. And, you know, Rob, when we talked about the game on Saturday, I was wondering if the Penguins were going to be checking out mentally after what happened on Friday with the tip in at the buzzer, or if the Penguins were going to be playing hard. And we got our answer pretty early on that this Penguins team was not willing to mentally check out. They played quite well after that disastrous ending on Friday against UIC.
Well, that was really the encouraging thing is, you know, in Saturday's game 2, you know, UIC scored first, and then then YSU caught them. So there was only one tie at 3, and maybe it was at 6, and then there was one lead change, and that was it. You know, YSU for the most part virtually led from start to finish. And the lead continued to increase. The only thing that Coach Calhoun said they went through a little bit of a lull when they got up by as many as 18. And allowed UIC to come down and get a couple of threes to kind of make it interesting. And then a couple of turnovers led to a couple more threes, and the lead got down to 4. He said that was really, and he didn't say that he felt nervous, just that they had hit a lull. UIC had hit a couple of shots after a couple of turnovers, but I thought overall, the guys really played well and got some contributions from some of those younger guys that continue to, mature and emerge. And Daniel Agoro was the guy last weekend after it was Miles Hunter the weekend before. They kind of carried the load and, helped out some of those veteran players like Miles Bohannon and Garrett Covington, who had milestone weekend.
Rob, we talked a little bit about this during the broadcast. Daniel Agoro had a frank conversation with Jared Calhoun after practice leading up to the 2-game series with UIC, and they spoke at great length. And whatever the conversation entailed, Daniel Agoro obviously took it to heart. This kid played some tremendous basketball in both games. He averaged about 12.5 points a game over the 2 games. I thought he distributed the ball exceptionally well. I thought he was just a fantastic performance overall by Agoro, and you can see that his game is starting to develop.
Well, the interesting thing, and we saw it, or I had an opportunity to see it early last year when he redshirted on the trip to the Virgin Islands, and some of his ability. And then he had to be on the shelf for a whole year while he redshirted. But, I went back and watched a little bit of that video from Game 2 against UIC last weekend. And, the way he was able to get to the lane, use his length, and really get to the basket at times uncontested, I thought was truly amazing. And it was almost like what he had been waiting for type of moments. But, his length and Miles Hunter's length, really could cause some serious matchup problems, and not just for the final month of the regular season, but, you're for the next 4 years, or really the next 3 to 4 years with both of those guys. So I thought what Daniel did, more importantly, his confidence, because not only did he get to the basket, but he made a couple of threes and hit some crucial free throws. And, I asked Coach Calhoun earlier in the week, is confidence sometimes an overplayed word? And he says, no, you've got to believe in yourself and know that others believe in you, so you can have that ability and let it show through. And that's really what happened with Ogoro. I think that's what happened with Miles Hunter the week before. And I think those guys can help alleviate some of the pressure and some of the responsibility that another freshman, Shamar Rattan-Mays, has had to endure, because when he didn't have anybody helping him in the backcourt, I think that's when you saw him struggle, because he felt maybe he had to do a little bit too much, and really had to shoulder the burden of running the point guard position with nobody there alongside him.
You've mentioned the 3 freshmen that have stood out in recent weeks. And, well, Mays has stood out all year long. I mean, this kid's absolutely incredible. But, Miles Hunter and Daniel Ogoro in the last couple of weeks have stood out. I'm now waiting for Alex Vargo to have that moment, and Sheikh Traore. Sheikh is one of those guys that I don't think you're going to be seeing the box score numbers pop out. It's what he's going to do defensively, and the guy that can be the rim protector and the shot alterer. That's what he can do, where you don't see it on the box score. But Vargo might very well have the best pure shot of any of the Penguins.
No, you're right. I think those are the next 2 guys. I think maybe the dark horse could be Will Dunn. But, you've seen enough of Vargo and Traore to know that they have that capability. I think you hit it right on the head. I think what you're going to see out of Sheikh may not always show up in the box score. He's got to he's got to block some shots. He's got to rebound the ball, make free throws when he gets an opportunity, shoot around the basket on a putback. But Vargo's got to break through. He's got to start making those outside jumpers again, like he did early in the year. In fact, 3 of the 5 starts that he had this season, I think he scored double figures in. So, he's got to get back into rhythm. I think that's a great guy to kind of focus on moving into the final month of the regular season run. And I'm still amazed at what the veterans have been able to do. And let's not overlook what happened this past weekend with Michael Akuche. He gives you a double-double on Friday, virtual double-double on Saturday with 13 points, 9 rebounds, but hit a couple of big threes in Saturday's game. And they're so much better when Akuche is feeling better, playing better, in rhythm, and scoring with the ball. So, everything kind of come together. You're right. It was a big win on Saturday because of what happened on Friday and how they had their heart ripped out from underneath them, because they really felt they gave Friday's game away to UIC. And that's really the next big step for this basketball team, is winning 2 games in a row and not just settling for splits.
Well, and we made mention, and this is the last time we talk about it. Look, they were 8 of 8 from the free throw line in the first half, 3 of 11 in the second half. A lot of the 8 misses that they had in the second half came in the closing moments that got UIC back into the ball game and ultimately got them the victory. It's a painful lesson to learn, but it is a lesson that these guys will undoubtedly have. I mean, on Saturday, they came back and shot 80% from the free throw line and had that same situation where they needed to hit free throws down the stretch in order to prevent UIC from chipping away at the lead and ultimately winning. And in the closing moments of Saturday's game, YSU was money at the free throw line.
Yeah. No, and the way this season's playing out right now, you just got to keep learning, getting these guys better, getting them more mentally prepared for the stretch run, because it's not going to be an even playing field as far as records are concerned. Not everybody's going to play, their full allotment of games. Right now, only 6 teams have played all 12 of their league games. So, there's supposed to be some kind of formula coming out. We still haven't seen the official bracket. I think there's a conference call tomorrow to go over those 2 topics in the league. So, the regular season standings may not be what they've always meant. It may be deferred to more of a formula where you gain extra points for road wins, and, strength of schedule plays into it. Almost, how they figure out who goes to the Final Four in college football now through some kind of a computerized formula. So there's still a lot of uncertainties, And I just think you got to just take care of your own business and keep getting better. And we saw that over the weekend, Ron, from Friday to Saturday.
Rob, before we start talking about the upcoming opponents, let's talk about the tournament for a second. All 12 teams are going to be playing in this tournament, and I suppose that in normal circumstances, the top 4 seeds would get a bye into the quarterfinals, and you go from there. Whether or not they do this remains to be seen, but what we're told, all 12 teams are going to be into the postseason. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, I think that's the way things look. I think what the coaches really want, obviously, is all 12. And I don't know that you can deny, certain teams. And you got to look at not just the men's side, but the women's side. And if you look at the women's side, Northern Kentucky's only played 4 games in the league, and they're 4-0. But do you reward them for only playing 4, as opposed to a team that may have played 12? So, yeah, I think you're going to see all 12 get in there. Because I just think it's such an uneven playing field. The way some teams have been thrown into games with new opponents because the team they were supposed to play went into quarantine protocol. So I think all 12 get in, but I think if that's the case, then you're right. Then the top 4 have to get a bye to the second round, and then the remaining 8 would play their way into that second round, which could be a Friday before everybody goes to Indianapolis for the semis and finals.
Yeah, and the women are in a much more precarious situation because Detroit has already said we're not playing another game thanks to some stuff that's going on with their coaching. And from what I understand, Purdue-Fort Wayne may not be far behind making the same announcement. So the women in the Horizon League, they have a very interesting decision to make because not all 12 teams are now playing.
Well, the other thing, too, is, and I don't know, I think the NCAA's kind of come out and hinted about this, so I would imagine other conference tournaments would be the same. Let's say you're scheduled to play, let's say you're the 7th seed, you're scheduled to host the 8th seed, all of a sudden the 8th seed comes into quarantine, they're not going to hold games up. I think they're just going to give you an automatic move on to the next round. So, yeah, it could be very bizarre. The women's obviously could have more, could have more problems than the men's because now you got to try to figure out what do you do with 11 teams? What do you do if one more bags it? You're down to 10. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think those will be the conversations they have over the next week to 10 days. And hopefully, we can start to, they'll release that. We can start to have an idea of, who's settling into what seed. But again, on the men's side, I think seeding's one thing, Ron, but, everybody can beat everybody, and we've seen that. The YSU men have beaten Northern Kentucky and Wright State on the road. And, there's, Detroit Mercy finally beat Oakland after 4 years. So I don't think there's anybody that's a clear-cut favorite, that seeding's going to make a big difference because you have no fans. So going to Wright State might not be the same as going to Wright State in a tournament game when they've got a full house. So, it'll be interesting because there's just so many unknowns right now, and everything's so different than what we're used to.
Rob, I look at the last 8 games, and, it's an ideal position for Youngstown State. Now, granted, the first 10 games of this 20-game league schedule was garbage, and we've talked about that. But these final 8 games, it's an ideal position for Youngstown State. You have home games against Detroit. You have a home game against IUPUI. You have a home 2-gamer against Purdue-Fort Wayne. And the road game that you're going to have is really not a road game per se because you're only traveling less than an hour down the road to suburban Pittsburgh to take on Robert Morris. And you take a look at these teams that YSU's playing. Robert Morris is 3-7 overall, 2-5 in the league. IUPUI is 3-6 overall, 2-6 in the league. Detroit is 4-8 overall, 3-5 in the league. Purdue-Fort Wayne is 6-7 overall, 5-7 in the league. These are 8 winnable games for Youngstown State. This is a perfect opportunity for the Penguins to get on a roll and possibly catch the 4 spot or get that last bye into the quarterfinals.
No, you're right. I mean, Detroit Mercy is such a good basketball team that is underachieved at times. They're a dangerous team because they have Antoine Davis, who at any time can score 40, 45 a night and can, hit you for 8 to 10 threes. And he's got a little bit of a supporting cast with him. It's still a team that's still trying to mesh itself together. They have a lot of transfers on this team from a year ago. Their second best player right now is a transfer from Cal Baptist. He's a graduate transfer. They've got another kid who transferred in from Niagara, who's 6'11", redshirt freshman. They got a transfer from Idaho, who's a 6'5" graduate transfer. They have a 7'1" graduate transfer. They're as I think Coach Calhoun told me they're one of the oldest, and by oldest he means one of the more veteran teams, players who are seniors, graduate transfers amongst I think they're like among the top 10 in the country. YSU's relying upon 7 freshmen. Detroit went the other way and went and grabbed 5 transfers, and a couple of them are graduate transfers who already have their bachelor's and going for master's degrees. I just think that those kind of guys, you gotta, they were all set in their ways. They played 4 years elsewhere. They only know one thing, and now you got to try to blend them together. But Antoine Davis makes all the difference in the world. He's a unique shooter. He's a special basketball player, and he can kill you in a variety of ways. The only thing I'm curious to see about Detroit Mercy is this will only be their second trip outside of Michigan. Every game they have played, with the exception of one, has been in the state of Michigan, and because they had played at Oakland, which was just north of them. They played at Western Michigan. They played at Michigan State. The only game that they played outside the state was at Notre Dame. So, travel is travel, but I'll be curious to see how they handle this weekend, because they have not been very far from home. Not that this is, on the other side of the world, but I'll be curious to see how they handle this weekend on the road.
And, Rob, you talked a little bit about their non-conference schedule. Look, they went to East Lansing and played the 8th best team in the country in Michigan State and damn near beat them. They wound up losing to Michigan State 83-76. They went to South Bend, played with Notre Dame, lost to them 78-70. They hosted Kent State, played with them for a little while before succumbing to the Golden Flashes 80-66. They beat Western Michigan out of the MAC by 10 points. They were to have played Kentucky, and they weren't able to play that game. And Detroit has won 3 of their last 4 league games. They swept a pair from Green Bay in the Motor City, and then they went north of Detroit and split with Oakland. So this is a team that's starting to play some really good basketball.
And I think that win at Oakland has done wonders for them. They hadn't beaten them in 4 years. I think Coach Davis was 0-8 in his career at Detroit Mercy versus Oakland. That is a monumental win for them. I think it'll give them a lot of confidence. I think they'll come in here and play loose. They're a big team. They're big and long, but they're going to want to get up and down the floor. But our guys are going to have to get up and down the floor as well to avoid Detroit Mercy kind of settling in to their zone. So, our guys are going to have to shoot it well from the perimeter, but they're going to have to try and get up and down the floor before Detroit Mercy can lock down that zone. Our guys have played fairly well against Northern Kentucky and Wright State when they were in zone. But I think on the whole, they're going to have to make sure that Detroit Mercy can't lock that thing down and force our guys into some bad shots when the shot clock is winding down.
YSU, the voice of the YSU men's basketball team, Rob Schmidt, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Are you surprised that the rotation is pretty much down to 9, 10 guys a game, given the fact that we're playing back-to-back games? Are you surprised that the Penguins are consistently now going with a 9 and sometimes a 10-man rotation in their games?
No, I think at this stage, in all honesty, I think if they were playing on Thursday, Saturday, you might see that rotation shrink to 7 or 8. I think what you're getting here as of late are 7 guys who are consistently in the scoring column, and then another 3 that come in and spell those guys and give them some minutes on the bench. And I think you're seeing Friday a few more of those guys playing in Game 1 than maybe necessarily in Game 2. No, I'm not surprised that it's down to 10. It's difficult for a coach to play 12, 13 guys a night if you expect a guy to get into rhythm and get into the flow of the game. So, no, I think the interesting thing about this weekend's going to be Detroit's lack of a bench. Antoine Davis plays habitually 38, 39, 40 minutes a night. Same thing for another guy they got named Bull Cool. He's one of the transfers, but Cool plays 40 minutes a night. So they have no problem running their horses out there and playing them from start to finish. So we'll see if stamina has anything to do with it this weekend.
You just mentioned this kid's name, and all I could think of is Snoopy putting the glasses on and hearing the Joe Cool. Instead, it's Bull Cool.
and the thing is, he's right now, and it's odd to say, but Antoine Davis got us to such a slow start. But the Cool kid, a graduate transfer out of Australia, has made nearly as many threes as Davis has this season, and he's actually got a much better percentage from beyond the arc. And he's long, and he can get rebounds, he can get to the basket. That's a guy that you're going to have to account for. He's a guy that early in the year was really making a difference and helping Detroit get a couple of those early season wins. So, I think it's a 1-2 punch. I think what you've got to hope is that some other guys don't surface and try to take over a game. But those two guys together, inside, outside, and if Cool starts making some threes, that's going to alleviate some pressure on Davis, and you're going to have to focus on Cool before you can run Davis off the three-point line. That's where they become really dangerous if both those guys are making shots from long range.
And, Rob, this is why a guy like Garrett Covington is so important. He's arguably the best player, best defensive player on the perimeter, and he'll certainly be in the fray of trying to stop one of these guys. And, kudos Garrett Covington. He scored 1,000 career points last weekend. Everyone talks about his game defensively, and here he is offensively putting up 1,000 points. A heck of a good honor for Covington.
Yeah, it was, after the game, I didn't realize it, Ron, while you and I were calling it. I went back and watched it. Naz Bohannon got his 900th career rebound, which is the most in Division I history here at Youngstown State, as he surpassed Tim Jackson. He got that record-breaking rebound and let it down the floor to Garrett, who got his lay-in to give him 1,000 career points. It all came on one swoop. It was the rebound for 900 and the basket for 1,000. And I didn't realize that it all happened on one series. But, those guys have been amazing. They've been great players. They've been great leaders. And better yet, they're great men who have really matured in their time here. And, it's fun to see those guys play and reach these milestones because, they've worked hard enough to deserve it all.
Rob, before we let you go, I guess it's becoming an obligatory question, and hopefully a positive answer will come about it very, very soon. What is the latest on Darius Quisenberry?
Still not sure. Still hoping. I think everybody's hopeful that he returns. My gut is I think people are more positive than negative on his return. I keep hearing if and when, as opposed to, well, maybe. So I take that as a good sign that, he'll be back hopefully for the last 3-4 weeks of the regular season, enough time to get himself prepared for the tournament. But I still don't have a timetable, but, I'm not hearing things saying, oh, man, it doesn't look like he's coming. I'm hearing more positives, like, if and when we get him back. So I take that as a good sign. It's just a matter of when does he actually feel good enough, feel strong enough that ankle's healed, that he can come back and play.
Well, and when he does, if he does, it just brings that much more presence to the YSU bench. I would assume Miles Hunter goes to the bench, and then he can come off the bench along with Agoro, Hampirian, Vargo, Sheikh Traore. Now you're looking at a 10-man rotation, and you're looking at 10 really good ball players that can take Youngstown State to the next level. I mean, we talked about this last week. Even though Cleveland State is leading the league right now with a 10-2 record, Wright State 1 game back at 9-3. There's a lot of people in the Horizon League that still don't believe Cleveland State is the best team in this league, even though they have a 10-2 record?
Yeah, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that they are the best team. Now, look, they're exceptionally good. And, I'd hate to undersell them at any stretch, and I kind of did say it last week. I don't know that they are the best, but, boy, they play so hard, and they play so well defensively. And they've got a legitimate Player of the Year candidate in Torrey Patton, and they're still without what was arguably was their best player last year and was one of the preseason Horizon League picks in Aljavon Eichelberger. He's been hampered by an injury. So, we keep looking at Quisenberry and when's he going to get back and, how he will strengthen the YSU lineup. Well, if Eichelberger were to get back, and he tried to play the weekend that we went up to Cleveland State, that was his first opportunity to try and play, and he had re-aggravated his injury. If he comes back healthy, he makes them a much better team because of his size and presence. He's a big body at 6'8", can rebound, has some range when he shoots. Like I said, he was their best player last year, and if they can get him back, that gives them another weapon and another defensive guy that they can lean upon because he can block some shots along with Deontay Johnson. So, Cleveland State's got some pieces. I think they just, they probably feel they need to prove it to everybody. But, they'll be right in the mix. I think, Milwaukee's got a nice team, but I think Cleveland State's going to, I just don't see them flaming out. I really don't.
Is this another year where the league, in all likelihood, gets one team into the postseason?
Yeah, I don't think this is a multi-bid league yet. In years past when they did get bids for the tournament champ and then an at-large, it was teams like Butler that had gone out and won a Crossroads Classic against Indiana, Notre Dame, and Purdue, or went out and won the Maui Invitational, one of those early season tournaments, or went up and won the Great Alaskan Shootout and had beat some high majors or, some Power Fives. And, they ended up being ranked in the top 25. They were their regular season champ. And then Butler would, let's say, lose in the tournament championship to Wright State or Milwaukee. Well, you couldn't overlook Butler's resume. So that's, no one has done that this year. No one has gone out because you just have not had a real good non-league schedule due to COVID. So no one's gone out and had any signature wins and put themselves in a position to be ranked in the top 25. So, yeah, it's a single bid league.
Oh, to have a Maui Invitational before the season starts. I mean, let me just say this right now. You're taking me to Hawaii if the Penguins ever get a Maui Invitational bid. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now, okay?
Hey, never overlook that battle for Atlantis. I'd go back down to the Bahamas in a minute.
Hey, that's fine by me as well. And if they want to go to the Cayman Islands and do the shootout from there, I got no problems with it. You won't see me in Alaska anytime soon, though, Rob. It's a little too chilly for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a different type of year, but those trips all are sure a lot of fun.
All right, so look, I mean, the trips are pretty much done. You got 6 games at the Bigley Center. You got 1 game outside of Pittsburgh in Coriopolis against Robert Morris, and then we got the tournaments, and there you go. I mean, this is a golden opportunity starting this weekend for the Penguins to get hot and get some much needed momentum going into the postseason.
No, they got to get 2 this weekend. I think that's where it starts. You beat Detroit Mercy twice last year. I think you got to beat them twice this weekend. I think, if they want to kind of get where they want to be, like we had said, you got to win them both. And, they got to put together some back-to-back wins here, some back-to-back performances that deserve to have back-to-back wins. I think they were right on the edge last weekend. I think they got to take that next step forward and get 2 this weekend.
Rob, always a pleasure. Look forward to doing the games with you.
Thanks, Rob. I'll see you this weekend.
See you. Rob Schmidt, the play-by-play voice of the YSU Penguins, Friday and Saturday, both games at 5 o'clock as the Penguins take on Detroit Mercy Friday and Saturday. And Rob's right. I mean, it's time for the Penguins to start sweeping weekend series. The Penguins, believe it or not, they do have, over the last 8 games, they're taking on teams that are very comparable league record-wise, to Youngstown State. And Purdue, Fort Wayne, Detroit, and IUPUI are all at Beagley. And Robert Morris, who's 2-5 in the league, that's the road game. The Penguins should be able to win bare minimum 6 games. 6 of the 8 would give them a 10-10 regular season record. Now, is 10-10 good enough to get them into the postseason and have a bye? Well, Milwaukee has 8 games left, and they have 4 of the 8 are going to be on the road at IUPUI. Then they host Northern Kentucky at Wright State, and then they host Oakland. So, I don't know. I think that if the Penguins were to go 7-1, 11-9, could very well put them in the top 4. And if you get into the top 4, you're going to get a bye into the quarterfinal round. The Penguins have dug themselves a deep hole. Make no mistake about it. They're 4-8. Now, they were in the basement last weekend. Right now they're in 10th place. And you get a couple of victories over Detroit, you'll pass Detroit and possibly pass Green Bay as well. Green Bay is playing at Cleveland State this weekend, and the way the Vikings are playing, you can expect them to sweep a pair from Green Bay. That would give Green Bay a 5-9 record. Well, if the Penguins sweep Detroit, now you're looking at 6-8, and all of a sudden the Penguins jump past Detroit. They jump past Green Bay. Purdue, Fort Wayne is going to be playing Oakland at home. So if they split with them, Purdue, Fort Wayne at 5-7. If they split with them, then Youngstown State and Purdue, Fort Wayne would be tied for 8th place in the league. So Youngstown State has an opportunity over the final 8 games to make up some serious ground, but in order for them to do that, they're going to have to win bare minimum 6 of their final 8 games. And clearly, beating Detroit twice is on the docket for this weekend, and we'll see if the Penguins can do that. All right, we'll take a timeout, be back with more. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Many, many thanks to Jordan Taylor for jumping on board at 12:30 this afternoon to talk about the brand new league, the MLB Draft League, of which the Mahoning Valley Scrappers are going to be a part of. And it's good to see and good to hear that Jordan Taylor said the interest level for Scrappers baseball this year is every bit the interest level in previous years. That's great news. That's absolutely great news, because I will tell you right now, from a minor league standpoint, nothing changes. From a promotional standpoint, from the giveaway standpoint, from the stuff that they're going to do in between innings, none of that changes. You're still going to have the in-between inning promotions. You're still going to have the fireworks night. You're still going to have the premium giveaway night. You're still going to have a jersey auction giveaway and whatnot. What changes is, and I think it's an upgrade, the thing that is changing is the caliber of play is going to become better than the average New York Penn League season. You're going to be seeing a much better caliber of baseball because this league is going to be filled with kids that are going to be improving their draft stock to the point where I would say a high 90 percentile, if not 100% of these kids participating in this draft league, they'll all be drafted. And the beautiful thing about this league is, unless you're looking at a junior who is draft eligible, gets drafted, doesn't like the contract offer, doesn't like the money factor or whatever, and decides to go back to college for his senior year. Unless you're in that position, the players are not going to be the same the next year. Now, every once in a while, when you're in the New York Penn League, most of the players are gone from year to year. You get a whole new crop of players, but not always. You know, there are kids that either get sent up to low A ball at the time, or they repeat the New York Penn League, or they find their way somewhere else. They're released and they find their way somewhere else. In this particular aspect, again, unless you're a draft eligible junior, get drafted, and you're not too happy with your draft choice, or you're not too happy with the contract offer and you decide you don't want to sign and you go back to play college ball for your last year of eligibility in college baseball, those are the only people that will come back to this particular league. And I made mention when we had Jordan on, if Major League Baseball and those that are sponsoring this endeavor, which would be Prep Baseball Report, if they market this the way it should be marketed, this is going to be a damn good league for years to come. This is going to be a very good starting point for these kids that are waiting to be drafted. And let me pile on with something that Jordan said once the process is complete. And to refresh everyone's memory, the Major League Baseball draft is going to be held during the All-Star Week festivities. Major League Baseball All-Star Game is going to be held in Atlanta, Georgia, which I find appropriate since we just lost Henry Aaron. So the All-Star Game is in Atlanta, in the brand-new stadium there. And you got the Major League Baseball 20-round Major League Baseball draft will be held during the All-Star Game festivities, that whole week of festivities. So let's say that some of these players, all of these players are drafted, and let's say that most of them sign. There's no guarantee that those players, once they sign, that they're going to vacate the premises. There's no guarantee that they're going to automatically leave and join their team, whether it be a bump up into low A ball. Some of these organizations may very well sit back and go, you know what? Play out the rest of the season in this facility. Play out the rest of the season in this particular league. When the season is over, fall instructional camp awaits, and then you'll have your first professional season where you're paid, because these guys aren't going to get paid. Hence the reason why the host families are going to be so incredibly important, and it's good to hear that the Scrappers have a solid list of host families that are going to be welcoming in these young men to their respective homes. There's a solid list, and that's been something that the Scrappers have done a great job of, and it's good to hear that they're still going to be doing that, because frankly, these kids aren't going to be paid. You're not paying these kids anything. When they sign their first contract, okay, that's when they'll start getting paid, and then you'll go from there. But as far as the caliber of competition, it's going to be a better caliber of baseball than the New York Penn League, because by and large, you're looking at kids that are going to be drafted in Major League Baseball. And the interesting thing about this is, now this is where the lack of affiliation comes in, where people are going to turn around and go, well, this kid isn't going to be a Cleveland Indian. I mean, I don't know if I can follow this person. Throw that out for a second. None of these kids are affiliated with anybody right now. And that's the best part of this. You could be cheering for a future Bucco, a future Cleveland Indian, a future Detroit Tiger. Dare I say, a future New York Yankee. I mean, you'd probably have to bathe thoroughly and wash your mouth out with soap for about a month and a half if you cheered for a future Yankee. We all have our crosses to bear. We may have to go to confession an awful lot, given the fact that we all cheered for a future Yankee. But I digress. That's the beautiful part of this. You're going to see some great baseball. And I think it's just going to be a lot of fun with the promotions, with the group sales and the season ticket sales. And I just think it's going to be a great atmosphere. And they don't go up against high school football or the Canfield Fair. And that's a double win for the Scrappers. All right, let's go to the phone lines. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Okay, as always, a great show. I was thinking about YSU basketball and the Horizon League in general, but I'm listening to what you just said. Now, everything is great. I truly believe that we're going to see better baseball because these guys, they're not traveling to a different. I'm sorry, but they're not traveling to a different country. They don't have to accolade to a different language. These guys been playing ball, and it's just another different stadium.
No,
but my question,
and I agree with that. And let me just preface what you just said, Emmanuel. These are draft eligible kids. So the draft, the Major League Baseball draft, consists of kids in the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico. Those are kids that are eligible to be in the Major League Baseball draft. Now, unfortunately, Major League Baseball does not have a worldwide draft. So when you get kids from the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Colombia, you go to the Asian countries, Taipei,
Korea,
Japan, China, those countries, you're not drafting these kids. You are now signing them with international bonus money.
So my question is this. I know you have host families, and listen, I think the Cleveland Indians are going to miss the relationship that they have had with these host families around here, for the Scrappers. I understand the host families, but my question to you is, there is absolute no stipend, no money whatsoever goes to the kids?
From what I understand, they're not going to be paid.
Well, how do they survive? How do you go to a movie?
You're not going to be going to very many movies. I mean, let's be honest. You're playing baseball for most of the days, and you don't have to worry about food because, you will have.
Ron, you can walk. Ron, you can walk from the stadium to the theater. Ron, we can throw a baseball that far if you give us the road.
Well, no, I understand that, but you're not going to have time. You're not going to have time to go see a movie unless it's an off day. Now, I will say that when you're on the road, you do get a food stipend. Minor league players do get a food stipend.
Okay.
So, but let's be honest. I mean, you're going to have your meal from your host family. You do have a spread after the game, so you'll have food there. You'll have food before, food after. You're not gonna be starving by any stretch of the imagination. And when you're on the road, you do have money that will be allotted for meal money, as they call it. So they're not going to be very poor. We'll put it that way.
It seems to me like they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. And I was listening to your interview, and you said the word 3 times, so they showed up. Butler. Now I can remember when Butler was in the league, and I'm looking at the Horizon League, and it seems to me that the Horizon League is evolving right now. And I think YSU is at the tip of the spear, because it seemed to me it always, except for Butler would rather have a better team than a star player, go out there any night, give you 35, 40 points. And it used to be in Horizon that everybody tried to get that one player, that unstoppable player, and carry you through the league. But I think now that, and I listen to you talk about the difference between what Detroit Mercy does and other teams. I think now this league is trying to get better overall. I think teams are getting better overall, and it's not so much as just that one guy. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. And I think that it won't be too long before this league becomes a multi-team into the tournament league. It'll take a little bit, but the pieces are there. This is a good mid-major conference. This really is, and I think this mid-major conference is going to become a whole lot better as we go further along down the road. I like what I'm seeing from Cleveland State, obviously, and Wright State is a solid basketball program. They've represented the the Horizon League quite well. Northern Kentucky's having an off year, but normally they're a solid team. Milwaukee is normally a solid team. And then you have, programs like Youngstown State that are trying to get to that stratosphere in the league. And I think that Youngstown State's going on the right path. It's just, unfortunately, they're not as good as we thought they would be for a variety of reasons this year.
Well, I disagree with you. I think they're just as good as we thought they were going to be, but I don't think they played to the level that they're capable of.
Well, I mean,
think that's a good team there.
If Quisenberry plays the 8 games that he has missed, this is a much different Youngstown State team than 4-8 in the conference. I mean, it's I think Quisenberry's his absence has had a lot to do with the 4-8 record in the league. And I think if he comes back and he's healthy down the stretch, I think this is a team that could make a serious tournament run. But go ahead.
Speaking of leagues, right? I really don't think that YSU is being treated right in Horizon or in the Gateway in football. Now it's going to turn out okay in basketball because we playing the teams that the bottom level teams. But YSU had to start off with the best teams on the road, and then you turn around, you look at their football schedule. Geez, who did they make mad? I can't believe that.
Well, I mean, look, you're going to start off the season at North Dakota State. Well, clearly that'll be an interesting start to the campaign. And then after that, you're going to be playing Northern Iowa, Southern Illinois. You're going to be at South Dakota State, home to South Dakota, home to North Dakota, at Western Illinois, at Missouri State. Look, Emmanuel, make no mistake about it. The first 4 games of the season, that's about as tough a schedule for Youngstown State as you're going to get. You got to go to the Fargo Dome. Then you're home to take on Northern Iowa, who's pretty solid. The Salukis of Southern Illinois coming into town. And then you go to South Dakota State to take on the Jackrabbits. If the Penguins can limp out of there with a 2-2 record, the rest of the way, it's a doable schedule where the Penguins could go 6-2.
Well, the teams we just mentioned, right, are the teams that we meet. We normally meet towards the middle of the season, towards the end of the season. We have a couple games up under our belt before these guys go into town or we go out there. But right off the bat, I don't know. But I guess why, as you say, just bring it our way. Anybody, anytime, anywhere. But I just don't think they're being treated right. That's just my personal opinion.
That's a tough first 4 games. To make no mistake about it. And you're on the road against 2 teams that are year in, year out the 2 best teams in the league, at North Dakota State and at South Dakota State. And then you got 2 home games between those 2 road games, Northern Iowa at home, Southern Illinois at home. It's pretty obvious that Penguins got to hold serve at home and split on the road. If you can go 6-2 in this schedule, then I think the Penguins not only get to the playoffs, I think they can make a deep run in the postseason.
All I'm saying is this, right? And I'm going to get off the phone, wish you a happy day. You know what? Their hair is coming, man. So they trying to stop us. My brother, you take it easy, okay?
All right, man.
Later, man.
Always a pleasure. 330-886-0813. We'll take a timeout to wrap this bad boy up. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Many, many thanks again to Jordan Taylor, General Manager of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers, for coming on the show at 12:30 this afternoon. Rob Schmidt, the voice of the YSU men's basketball program, he came on the show today at 2 o'clock to talk YSU men's basketball. Again, on the network tonight, we have girls basketball all over the place. We got 6 games tonight on the network. JV girls basketball from Edison High School this afternoon at 5:30. Monroe Central taking on Edison. The varsity game will start somewhere around 7 o'clock. 6:30 tonight, varsity game at Beaver Local. Minerva playing Beaver Local. 6:30 start at Springfield. Columbiana girls at Springfield. The other 2 7 o'clock games, give or take a few minutes. The Holy War, girls basketball style. They'll go to the north end of Youngstown. Cardinal Mooney will take a trip to Wick Avenue to take on the Ursuline Irish, and Cheney will head to Louisville to take on Louisville. Those are the games tonight. You can go to ysnlive.com, see the games at no charge, courtesy of the good folks at WRS Wealth Advisors. That'll do it for the show. DJ and the fellas giving a little power hour coming up at the top of the hour. We will talk tomorrow. Anthony will be in studio, and we'll have some fun with him along the way. Thanks a lot for tuning in.